everyone. I welcome you all to this lesson. Today I am going to discuss Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 2, which takes place at Belmont, a room in Portia's house. So here I begin. This Act 1, Scene 2 is an important one as Act 1, Scene 1 had introduced us with two important male characters, Antonio and Bassanio. And this Act 1, Scene 2 introduces us with two principal female characters, that is, Portia and Nerissa. This scene takes place at Belmont and Scene 1 had taken place at Venice. The word Belmont means a beautiful mountain. We can find similarity in the opening scene of both Act 1, Scene 1 and Act 1, Scene 2. In Act 1, Scene 1, we found that Antonio was in a melancholic mood, but the reason of his melancholy or sadness was unknown. But here in Act 1, Scene 2, we find that Portia is also in a melancholic mood or is sad, but the reason for her sadness was known to her. Act 1, Scene 2 at Belmont, a room in Portia's house, where we are introduced to Portia, who is talking to her maid Nerissa. Portia says that her body is tired of this great world. The word weary was also used by Antonio in the opening scene of Act 1, Scene 1. To this, Nerissa, who is not only a companion but also a wise and intelligent lady, replies that she does not believe in what Portia says, that she is tired. So she says that, my lady, you would be tired if you had as many miseries as your good fortunes are. That means good fortunes are much more than her miseries. So if your good fortunes and miseries were in the same level, then you should have felt tired. She can observe that people who have too much of everything, like if a person eats too much, he feels sick. In the same way, if he is starving, then also he feels sick. So it is not at all bad fortune if you are seated in the middle, neither of the extremes, that is, neither starving nor overfed. A man who has more than enough grows old faster than the man who has just enough. When you have just enough, you live longer, and when you have too much, you grow old faster. Whether it is too much of happiness or too much of sadness. So, Portia appreciates it. Good sentence and well pronounced. Nerissa say that they would be better if well followed. Portia's speech is very important, children. You should listen carefully. She says that if it was as easy to do good as knowing is good, see, all of us knows that what is good and what is bad, or what we have to do. But do we really do that? No, many times we don't. Like we know we should speak the truth. Do we always speak the truth? But we tell you to speak the truth. The moment we find ourselves in some problems or in some trouble, we do tell lies. So knowing what is right and what is good or doing it are not the same thing. Doing is not so easy as knowing it. Knowing is easy, but doing is not so easy. In that case, small chapels would become great churches and cottages would become same as the royal palaces. Means to say that it is much easier to say wise things than to put them into practice. If doing them were as easy as saying or knowing them, then places of worship like chapels would be like churches. That is, the former would have attracted more people and this would have led to a greater pity. Thus, the happiness of the poor would have transformed their cottages into palaces. A really good priest is one who himself practices what he preaches. So, a good teacher is the one who follows his own instructions. Teaching 20 students what to do is much more easier than to be one of those 20 students and 20 people follow all my advice. That is, I cannot be one of them and follow my own teachings. The mind may draw up laws for the body to follow, but the heat of desire overheats these cold laws, so that means young people are very rash and desperate. So they will jump over the net of good advice in the same way as a hare who runs very fast and escape the snare. In the same way, young people will never hear the advice which is like a cripple. Good advice going slowly and young people running far away from it. For example, when the son is ready to drive to a bike, then the father says, "Son, don't forget that you have to drive slowly and go slowly." When the son is ready to go, then to drive a bike, then father says, "Don't forget, be a very cautious driver. Don't exceed the speed limit. Do not break the traffic rule." The son says, "Yes, father, I won't break the rules." And the moment he starts his bike, his father's advice is like a cripple and starts riding very fast, forgetting all the advice given by his father, breaking all the rules and all the advices. So, dear children, just like the brain can draw up laws for the body to follow, reason may dictate certain wise courses of action. But man, in the impulse of the moment, usually ignores such dictates. The heat of the desire turns a deaf ear to such cold reasoning. Youthful passion is a kind of madness. Youth is generally hot, rash, and without thinking, and so it never allows itself to be hampered by the rules of good conduct or by good advice. Youth is swift and mad like hair, and the advice of the experienced people is like a cripple. As a hare jumps over the net rashly, so do the youthful impulse leap over the dictates of reasonable counsel. A young man never stops to consider the advice given to him. Madness is the characteristic of youth. Good counsel is of old age. Youth is as agile as a hare, whereas old age is as slow as a cripple. But this logic will not help me in choosing a husband. Then she realizes the futility of this reasoning. What is the use of this reasoning? It won't help me to choose my husband. So she is lamenting. Portia is lamenting on the word choose. As she has been restricted, she has been barred from choosing a husband. So the word choose is not for me, says Portia. So she is really in a very pathetic condition. Even if she likes someone, she cannot choose. And even if she dislikes someone, she cannot refuse him or reject him. She says her will or desire has been put under the will of a great and dead father who has stopped him from choosing a husband of the choice according to her will. She is in such a situation that neither she can choose a man she likes nor refuse the person whom she dislikes. The desire of a living daughter are checked by the will of a dead father. So she is asking Naresa, is it not fair or very difficult for me, Naresa, that I cannot choose nor refuse a husband? So Naresa tries to give her some comforts by saying, your father was always a good man, a very virtuous holy man, and these type of holy man, before their death, they can define an inspiration. So the lottery of the casket devised by your father, the 3 chests of gold, silver and lead, hence the trial of the chance that he planned through it, the one who chooses the correct casket intended by your father wins you. That's a gamble, but I have no doubt that it will never be guessed correctly by anyone except the man whom you truly love. But how much warmth of love do you feel for any of these royal candidates that have come already? Portia says, go and bring them one by one. As you will bring them and name them, I'll give my opinion about them, and then you can understand my feelings about them. The first there is the Neapolitan prince. Neapolitan prince means the Prince of Naples, who only talked about his horses. This fellow is a colt, and colt means a young, untrained horse, because he always speaks about his horse. Not only that, he feels his great credit that he can show his horses. You know, children, horses have hoofs. Under it, there are shoes made up of iron. It's like the shape of you because the hoofs don't get worn out. But it is difficult to show a horse, but it is very proud that, but he is very proud that he can show his horse himself. Then comes the second one, and his name is the Conti Palatine. So he is the German Palatine Count. He, according to Portia, is the only frowning and is always angry, as if he means to say that if you don't choose me, I don't care. Portia says this suitor hears funny and jovial stories, but never laughs. He grows older. He will also become like a weeping philosopher. So there is a reference about a weeping philosopher. He was a Heraclitus, and he had become so full of sadness in his life, who wept at everything in the world and went to live alone in the mountains, leaving the human society. So this man will also become another a weeping philosopher. So she says, instead of marrying him, I would rather prefer to marry a skull with a bone in his mouth than either of these. So God, please save me from these 2 suitors, that is, the Neapolitan prince, and that is the Prince of Naples, and the County Palatine. So Nerissa says, now ask her opinion about the 3rd suitor, the French lord, Monsieur Le Bon. So Portia says, since God has created him, he may be accepted as a man. I know that it is a sin to ridicule others, that is, to make fun of others, but he is more attached to his horses than the Neapolitan prince. So she is not really having a very favorable opinion regarding this person. He has a fierce, angry look, which outdoes even that of the count. He has every man's fault, but is no man at all. If the thrush sings, he will start dancing. He is so energetic that he cannot keep quiet. He would draw a sword and fence with his own shadow, rather than not fence at all. If I marry him, I would marry 20 persons. If he hates me, I will forgive him. But if he loves me passionately, I will never respond. So he is more fond of his horses than the Neapolitan. He frowns more than the Count Palatine, and he is every man in no man. So if a thrush sings, he will start dancing. He fights with his own shadow by drawing out his sword. If I would marry him, it would seem that I will marry 20 husbands. If he would hate me, I would forgive him. If he loves me to madness, then I will never be able to reciprocate his love. Then Nerissa talks about the fourth suitor, Falconbridge, the young Baron of England, and asks Portia, "What's your opinion about England? France and England are neighboring countries." Then Portia says, "There is a communication gap, as I say nothing to him, and he understands nothing." So you remember the children, that we had done a story, A Horse and Two Goats, in which Muni and the American could not understand each other. So here also it is the same thing. He cannot understand and speak the language. The one which he can understand and speak the language is only English. And Portia's language in English is very scanty, as the language known to her was Latin, French, and Italian. She says he is a good-looking and handsome, but now how can one spend their entire life with a person with whom you cannot communicate with gesture and postures? Dumb, which is not possible. So not only that, he has dressed in a very strange fashion. His dress is a mixture of different places, like he has brought his jacket from Italy, his legwear from France, and his headwear from Germany. So, for example, just imagine someone wears a coat, a pagri, or a turban, and a lungi and shoes. How would he look? Suppose an Indian wear all these, how would he look? So Portia's opinion regarding the fourth suitor, who wore a jacket from Italy, legwear from France, and bonnet from Germany, and his behavior is a mixture of all these persons. What's your opinion about the fifth suitor? Portia asks Nerissa, who was the Scottish lord. Portia says that Scotland and England are neighboring countries. I think he is a man with a neighboring feeling. I think he loves his neighbor because he took a blow on the ear from the Englishman, and then he saw that today I am not able to pay you back, but when I am able to, I'll surely pay you back. And who became his guarantor or creditor? The Frenchman, because France and England are closely related to each other. So he got another similar blow from the Englishman. Portia says that Frenchman stood surety for him, taking a similar blow as if signing for him. There was a great jealousy between Scotland and England, owing to the language wars between them. In order to please his audience, Shakespeare makes both Scotland and Frenchman deficient in courage. Scotland and France had been at war with England for hundreds of years, and the former had been allies. Now Nerissa asks Portia that what is your opinion regarding the sixth suitor, the young German, the Duke of Saxony nephew. Portia says that he is the worst of all the suitors. When he is sober also, he does not like him at all, and she hates him the most when he is drunk. When he is best, that means when he is in his best behavior, he is little worse than a man. And when he is in a worse behavior, he is little better than a beast. That means he is at no time like a man. In his best, he is like a man, and in his worst, he is like a little better than a beast. So let the worst happen. I'm not going to take him. That is, I'm not going to accept him as my husband. In that case, she is ready to break an oath. So Nerissa reminds her that he may not accept you, but if he agrees to choose, and if he chooses the right casket, then you will break the promise. Then you will not be breaking the promise. You made to your father. Portia says, and as thought of a nice plan, so that he does not choose the right casket. And so she tells to Nerissa, you put a glass of wine on the wrong casket, so that he chooses the wrong casket. As this, the temptation for him, so he will rush towards the wrong casket, even if the devil is under him. So Portia says, Nerissa, I am ready to do anything rather than get married to a sponge. Sponge, as you know, children, sponge can hold a lot of water, and he holds a lot of alcohol. So now Nerissa assures her. So could have assured her earlier, but now she assures her that you need not worry or be afraid, as you do not have to accept any of these, as they have let me know about their decision that they want to return to their home, and they do not want to choose any casket unless there is another way to woo you. So they won't trouble you anymore. Other than the casket, if there is some other way to win you over, they are not going to choose, because there are 3 conditions, and one of them is quite tough. Portia is quite relieved to hear this, and she is quite relieved that they want to leave and go. She says that even if I were to live like a Sibylle, means to say that Sibylla was a woman in the ancient times who was given a blessing that she will live as many years as the grains of sand which her hand can hold. So you know, children, your palm can hold countless thousands of grains of sand. So she was promised that many long years ago, her years of life by Apollo, that she will live for a long year. So Portia says, if I live as old as Sibylla, but still I will die as pure as the chest, like Diana, unless I be one in the manner of my father's will. Now Diana was supposed to be the goodness of chastity and virginity. So I will live as pure as virgin as Diana, until I am obtained in the manner mentioned in my father's will. Now, what had her father said? He said, the person who chooses the right casket and find Portia's portrait inside that person will marry Portia. So Portia says, yes, I will marry that person only. Otherwise, I will remain as pure as Diana. And even if I have to live a very long life, so she is in a great peace that these suitors, that is the parcel of wooers, are quite reasonable. That is why she also mentions that there is not one among them whose absence she would feel. That is, she would be very happy to get rid of them. I will just pray to God that they should get a fair departure. That means they live in a fair manner. Portia says that I am happy that these crowd of suitors are so reasonable. There is not one of them for whose departure I don't wish. I pray God to grant them a happy journey. To this, Nerissa says that, Portia, that, do you remember that in your father's time, that is, she reminds Portia that when her father was alive, a Venetian, that is, a person from Venice, had come who was a scholar and a soldier, and he had come in the company of the Marquis of Montferrat. So, my lady, do you remember him? To this Portia says, yes, it was Bassanio. As I think, so was he called, so that the moment Nerissa mentions Venice, a Venetian, the next moment Portia identifies him and says, yes, I think his name is Bassanio. Remembers what Bassanio had told Antonio, that I had received fair and speechless messages from her. So Portia seems to be interested in him. So Nerissa asks, yes, it was true that his name was Bassanio, and of all the men I have looked upon until now, he deserves the fair lady. He is the best person who deserves you. To this Portia says that yes, I remember him very well, and now I know that he is worthy of that praise of yours. Now a servant enters, and he says that there is a messenger who is the seventh suitor, Prince of Morocco is the seventh suitor. So the messenger has brought this information that his master, Prince of Morocco, will be here tonight. Portia, when she hears the name of Morocco, she is not glad at the approach of the Prince of Morocco. She says that her heart with which I am bidding the other suitors goodbye, who had come, if only could welcome him with that same good and happy heart. I would have been glad of his coming. She makes it clear that she is color biased. She does not have anything to do with the black color or the black person. She says that if she has, his manners are like that of a saint, but his complexion is that of a devil. So at that time, devil was painted as black in color in those days, and the evil people or the villains also had black complexion, like Sherlock. Like Sherlock is black, but Jessica is fair. That is what you will find it later in the play. So if he has the condition of a saint and complexion of a devil, then what she do? She wouldn't marry that person. She wants that he should be her spiritual mentor rather than a husband. That shows that she is not ready to marry a black man. Why does she say that? It's because Morocco was a place where it is very hot, an equatorial country from where the prince had come. That place is more exposed to the sun. That is why they have dark complexion. So Portia says that to Nerissa, to come, let's go, and tells the servant to proceed before them. So while we are shutting the gates of one verse, and rather 6 wooers, she's shutting the gate for the 6 wooers, and the 7th one has come. Another knocks at the door. So this is where Act 1, Scene 2 ends. Now, in order to prepare this chapter, dear children, you have to remember the speech of Nerissa and Portia. They are quite important because many questions comes from this scene, like churches and chapels, Nerissa's speech. It is better to remain in the middle. These two speeches are very important. Make a chart of suitors: Prince of Naples, cold; Count Palatine, frowny; weeping philosopher. This should be your clues to remember. French, Lord Monsieur Labane, attached to his horse, falcon brace, knows only English. good looking and dresses up very well. Scottish lord, he has been. The neighboring charity, young German, the Duke of Saxony nephew. Remember Sponge about them, who is never like a man, less than a man. Then he is sober and little better than a beast when he is at the worst. So it will become easier for you to remember. And after that, similar references about Sibylla. Why does Portia talks about Sibylla? Who is Diana? All these things, dear children, you have to remember. I hope you don't have any problem with Act 1 Scene 2. So, with these words, I end my lesson. I hope it will be beneficial for you in your study. Thank you.